So congratulations. You've set some hard boundaries for your addict. Now what? Nobody talks about this. This is a gigantic shift in the relationship between you and your addict. It's new for you. It's new for them. The entire playing field has just changed. It's very important that you have someone in your life who knows how to deal with this type of situation. I want to congratulate you because you have graduated to a place in this dilemma that you've actually been able to put down some boundaries. Obviously, your boundaries were not met and the addict has been asked to leave. And one way or another, you got them out of the house. Their journey begins now, as does your own journey. Both of you will have an enormous amount of resentment, fear, second guessing, loneliness, confusion. It's happening to both of you in different ways. But first, I want to address what you're going through as the person who set the boundaries. I want you to, first of all, enjoy the peace and quiet that you've been lacking for so long. And I don't want you to feel guilty about it. You're not doing anything wrong. I have a client that I'm working with right now, a wonderful couple, a mother and a father. They have I think a 25-year-old son, and they've cut the cord, finally. After years and years and years, they've cut the cord. And it took them, I would say, a couple of months to get accustomed to not jumping every time the phone rings. It was very difficult for them initially to hear their son and say, "I'm sorry, we can't help you. We've done everything that we can, and things are just getting worse. We will not continue to do the same thing that is making things worse and magically expect things to get better." We have shed that delusion and that fantasy, and we are now in touch with the reality of how things actually work. So they're lucky because they have each other and they also have me. We do phone calls once a week, and all I do is reiterate what we've already talked about because there's a shift happening here, a shift in perspective and also a shift in behavior, and change is never easy. Even when you know logically that what you're doing is right, you're still rewriting the dynamic of your relationship with that addict. So they have each other, they have their faith, they know that they're doing the right thing, they know it to their core, and they're sticking by it. But now I want to talk about what happens with the addict, because his world or her world has completely changed now. The lifeline, the financial lifeline, the emotional lifeline, the physical lifeline, all of it has been removed. And they're having a hard time. But for the first time in their life, they're searching. What are they searching for? An answer. It's no longer provided for them. You know, when you're an animal in the wild, the only thing that you worry about is your survival and reproduction and the protection of your territory, because all of that comes down under the title of survival. When you're a human being, survival should be the least of our worries. But this addict has to worry about that now. So he's forced to do something that he normally wouldn't do. He's forced to step down in his own mind about who he thought he was. And most kids today have insurance, so they can go to an IOP, which will be attached to a sober living. But for the first time, they're not the star of the show. They're in a sober living. They're expected to do some chores. They're expected to go to IOP. They're expected to sit into some groups. They're expected to have one-on-ones. And they're expected to behave appropriately. This is the first time in a long time that this person is expected to step up and show up and do things differently and not get everything handed to them. This is why it's so important that after a couple of weeks of doing the right thing, that parents don't let the kids back into the house right away. We're not looking for a small change. We're looking for a revolution, an internal revolution on the part of the addict. That takes time. It's not about what they say. It's about, you'll know how they carry themselves. There'll be some humility. When there's recovery, there's humility. There's some sorrow. There's some regret. You will see the difference in the addict when they become more humble and when they realize what they've been doing all these years to you and how they've been stealing from you and from the rest of the family. This particular family I'm talking about, the mother and father's attention went all to this young man. Now, they had other kids, but those kids got penalized. They didn't get any attention from their mother and father. I shouldn't say any, but they got very little. Why? Because their focus was always on this kid's emergency. What did the other siblings do to not be able to deserve their full attention from their mother and father? This thing has stolen so much from everybody involved, including the addict. It's time to relearn. It's time to be reborn. It's time to learn how to live as a full-fledged human being. Now, this particular young man is especially stubborn. So he is looking for the easier, softer way out, just like the parents were. There is no easier, softer way out. The parents did their part and made the difficult decision to cut the cord. This kid now is going to have to make the difficult decision to admit that he just doesn't know how to live like a normal human being. In fact, he doesn't know the first thing about what it is to be a full-fledged human being. All he does is take, steal, cheat, and lie. And those things are not going to serve him well in this new life. Why? Very simple reason. Nobody is going to tolerate his bullshit like his parents did. His parents tolerated way too much because he was their son. But the world doesn't give a shit. The world is not going to tolerate that nonsense. So he's going to need to learn how to change. I don't know how long it's going to take. Not every flower blooms at the same time. But please, don't rob your children of the misery that they need to encounter to force the change that needs to happen. Don't come in. They have to suffer. They need to suffer. They have earned their suffering. They have done everything that they're supposed to do to suffer. Let them feel it. And when they've suffered enough, they can make different choices to have a different outcome. They can't do it on their own. They have to become a part of a group, a tribe. Addiction is the only self-help. Let me rephrase. 12-step programs are the only self-help program that you can't do by yourself. You have to ask for help because you need to go as an addict, new in recovery, you need to go beyond your own understanding. Your own understanding has a very limited limit to it. You can just know how to be miserable with your own understanding. You need to go beyond that. It's what addicts don't know that's killing them. What they know is what they know. Now, there are certain pleasures involved in addiction, like drug use and sex and things like that, but they have built a wall around themselves, and that wall has a certain type of protection. It does protect you, but it also restricts you. We don't like walls. We want to have doors and windows so when we don't want to feel protected, we can walk through them and be a part of the world. This will never happen unless the addict has to do it. It's not going to be a conscious choice. They're either going to sink or they're going to swim. And that would never happen if the parents didn't cut the cord and set the boundaries down. So I don't know what's going to happen. I know that the kid has my phone number, and I'm probably hated by him right now because he knows I'm the reason why the gig is up for him, why the parents aren't behaving the way they used to behave. See, I do these videos not to change the addict. I do these videos, mom and dad and grandparents and wife and husband, to change you. Because your change has an effect on the addict. Comfortable addicts do not recover. An addict who's got a roof over his head, food in his belly, somebody paying his car payment, his cell phone payment, his insurance, calling probation for him, reminding him of his court dates, those addicts don't recover because the necessity is not there. Necessity is the mother of all invention. This addict needs to reinvent himself, and it has to come from his lifestyle change. No more three meals a day and free money and free bail and free get out of jail and daddy gets you an attorney. That shit doesn't work. When you carry the addict, you will bury the addict. That's a fact. Is it a possibility that this kid still can die out there? Yeah, it's a possibility. Just like it was, he could die at his home. But this way, we are forcing him to look, to search, to try to find the truth about what's happening to him. The best place he can go is to a 12-step program where the people of that program wrote the literature of that specific program. They know who he is, even if he doesn't know who he is. But it's going to take consistency, and it's going to take a surrender. In the day of every addict, hopefully a time will come where they will throw their hands up and say, man, I just don't know what I'm doing anymore. I've tried everything, and I'm just in constant pain. I know because that happened to me. And that was the greatest day of my life, and it would have never happened if I was comfortable and I was convenient. Nothing grows from that. So please, stay the course. If you have questions, you can always shoot me a message. I'm always here to answer your questions. So please, today, if you have set boundaries, get with someone who can help you stay on that track, because your head will talk. It will trick you. You will want to go back to your old tendencies and your old ways. But remember, two people's lives are on the line here. What you do will not only affect the outcome of the addict, but will also affect the outcome of your own joy and your own happiness. There's nothing you can do if they want to kill themselves, but you don't have to die with them.